done quick. Welcome to the Super Metroid portion of today's event. You're going to be treated to a real treat today by none other than ShinyZeni, who in the past has done RBO for GDQ. Today he'll be doing 100% item collection. On commentary, my name is Kipp, and I'm joined by the most famous name in Super Metroid history, none other than Zoast. Zoast, how you doing today?
Oh, shucks. How's it going? Doing good.
So tell us a little bit about this run. This is a category that is very competitive. You know, a lot of people kind of consider it to be sort of the second most competitive and important category in Super Metroid, right behind 80%. You have a lot of experience with us, or with it. Will you tell us a little bit about what we can expect to see beyond just, you know, collecting all 100 of the items?
Sure. So this category, I would say it's harder to optimally run it than any percent, since you have all the movement options at your disposal. You can do a pretty vast range of tricks and fast speed run strategies, but that means there's a little bit more difficulty involved when you have all these movement options. Good thing is there's probably a little bit less RNG in this run, since you don't have to worry about drop luck. But yeah, it's a very difficult speedrun to play well, but luckily Zeni is really in great shape right now, so we're in for a treat.
Yeah, Zeni's been grinding this category hard lately and doing a fantastic job. Recently, I think maybe a few weeks ago, posted the second fastest time in the history of our 100% category. And as Zos pointed out, this category, when you're first getting started, you know, if you're sort of interested in Super Metroid speedrunning, it's a fun category to run and pretty safe. However, when you start trying to optimize it, it can be very overwhelming because of the number of rooms that you have to go in, especially rooms that you don't see in a lot of other categories traditionally. So this is going to be a real treat. I think you guys are going to enjoy it.
Hey, thanks, guys. Do we want to get a countdown going? All right, Kipp, will you count us down?
Sure thing. We will begin this 100% run in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And good luck, Zeni.
Thank you.
So while we're here, let's go ahead and talk about something real quick. Not only does ShinyZeni have a lot of fantastic times across multiple categories in Super Metroid, he also is the world record holder of the series RTA, or I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing the category correctly, but at the end of series station here, there will be a countdown timer to get to the elevator, and Zeni has made it to the elevator faster than any other player in the history of Super Metroid, which is pretty difficult to do.
Putting me on the spot,
but it's almost
Kipp.
like a mini game. Yeah, I expect to see a world record pace right here, please.
47 or bust, Zeni. Yeah, it's really one of the most optimized categories, Series Station, because it's so short and everybody runs it every run, pretty much every run at least.
That's true. I will tell you this, if you want to get good at it, you're going to have to practice. Even though I have done it thousands of times, I'm still bad at it, so you probably need to actually load the practice ROM if you want to get good at this. But real quick, Zost, I'm going to toss this to you for just a moment. There are actually kind of two basic routes that people might take when they're running this category. And Zeni's going to be taking the more aggressive, if you will, slightly more dangerous route, because it's, you know, the one he uses for PBs. Can you tell us a little bit about how this route is going to be different than maybe the traditional one?
So traditionally you would see, well, first of all, there's a myriad of ways you can run 100%. Like if you look at historical, like the older runs, there can be some really weird routes before it was kind of really figured out. But like these days, there's mainly two main routes. The first route, the little bit easier route, would be to go to Crocomire kind of earlier in the game and get that grapple beam. And the biggest change is that when you're going to get Spring Ball, you'll have the intended way to get to Spring Ball, which is to grapple a block which crumbles in that after you grapple it, and then you know, take the intended path to get to Spring Ball. With this route, what we're doing is we're skipping that grapple and we're getting ice early. So we do like a clip which involves freezing it's called a Puyo. It's like a little leech or a worm-looking enemy, and we clip through a ceiling to get to Spring Ball, and that delays Crocomire, which allows us to have plasma for Crocomire, which kills Crocomire instantly, and we have a lot more movement options in Croc's lair, which saves a bit of time. We can also do a fancy trick to Shine Spark to X-Ray, which will save some more time if we can get that trick. The only problem with the harder route, or the biggest difficulty, I would say, if I'm remembering correctly, is that Wreck Ship becomes more dangerous, and you have to play Wreck Ship more cleanly to do the route correctly. And that requires not making too many mistakes in Wreck Ship. So
Yeah, that's a great point. Your energy is a much more valuable resource in this route than it would be in the other, because in the other route you would have already visited Croc and managed to get an extra energy tank. So as Zo's pointed out, and it'll make more sense when we get there for people who are unfamiliar, but we're gonna want to maintain a certain amount of energy to do what's called a gauntlet spark. And so he has to be, a lot more diligent about protecting his energy resource in the Wreck Ship section before that.
Right, after the Wreck Ship, we'll be going to the ship area and going to the areas above the ship area. And you need a good bit of energy to do that fast, because you'll be doing 2 very long sparks, like shine sparks, which strain your energy. So that's the real difficulty of conservation of health in Wreck Ship. Now, if he's really low on energy after that, if things go wrong, you can delay the gauntlet until the end of the game, and it's not that big of a time loss, really. That's the way it used to be done back in the day, is to do gauntlet last, and it's not as bad of a time difference for like in-game time. It's probably about the same in-game time, roughly, but you would lose like 7 or 8 seconds RTA if you did gauntlet last.
That's right. And what you're seeing here is Zenny is in the climb, which is one of the hardest rooms, in my opinion, in the game, just in terms of, when you're new and kind of getting used to the controls. It's a very technical room. He used the, what I call the more traditional wall jump method. There's actually a few different methods you can use in that room. But he had a real nice, clean room there, and now he's heading to get bombs. One thing I find kind of neat about Super Metroid, and especially 100% item collection, is the way everything is laid out in the game with the items. It's kind of neat how you skip some items that you would be sort of intended to get casually very early, and then you get them like extremely late in the run. For example, the beta missiles, which normally are the second missiles you pick up in the game, are going to be like the 90, I don't know.
Yes, when we go to get to charge
item that's going to be really late. And then I think the third missile pack that you would traditionally get in a casual playthrough is literally going to be the 100th item. So kind of neat how you're going to go back and forth between different parts of the map and then return later to pick up items.
That's what I thought, but somebody said it was something different, so, I don't know. Yeah, this is a big sequence break. This allows us to skip Spore Spawn because there's a green door which you have to open with supers coming up, and so we keep our run speed in Morph Ball form by doing a trick called the Mock Ball to get under those gates. So you basically have to keep your run speed and jump, and then do a soft morph and kind of do a Hadouken motion to the right to keep rolling to the right under those gates. Yeah, there's very few situations where missile, like ammo management, becomes a huge deal in this category. Now, we will have to look out for our health in the wrecked ship a little bit. There's a room called the Spiky Room of Death, which, as you can guess by the name, is kind of dangerous. That's the main part of 100% that can be dangerous as far as a dying perspective, but 100% is a category where there's a lot of places where you can lose a lot of time if you make, particular mistakes. So if you're going for PB attempts, world record attempts, your run can die without you dying, for sure. We're passing by those charged missiles, you can see. We'll be back later in this area to clean up when we have more items.
Zos, do you mind if I cut in with a donation?
Oh, go ahead.
Cool. Boardhammer sends us $25. They say Zeni, Zoast, and Kipp at the same time. What a treat. So, clapping outside for our health co-workers is a nice sentiment, but what they really need is PPE, hazard pay, and time to rest. I'm so happy this community can come together and help contribute to one of those needs. Thank you so much.
All right, so we're going to get Spazer, even though Spazer is going to get kind of outdated later when we get Plasma. And then we'll be going to Kraid first. The cool thing about 100% is it still does the intended boss order. So there's some certain things that prevent us from really massively rerouting 100%. For instance, you can't really go Kraid to Upper Norfair to Lower Norfair immediately, mainly because the big issue there is that to get down to Gold Chorizo, you have to have space jump to drain the lava to get that missile above, like in the top of Gold Chorizo's room. There are some kind of glitchy, but not necessarily major glitch ways to do that, but they're very difficult and nobody's really gone for them in runs. And it's not really been investigated very well how that would affect everything.
All right, so we're heading into Kraid's lair here, and gonna have our first boss fight, as Zos just mentioned. Gonna get to see some nice tech with the Kraid quick kill. I really like this bomb method he just used. You want to explain a little bit about what Zeni just did there, Zos?
Right, so you have to be at a certain X position here to have the second missile connect with Kraid. So Kraid has 1,000 health, so you use 2 regular missiles. You want to conserve, that extra super. You can do 4 supers, but we're conserving 1 super, so we have an extra one earlier. So you use 2 missiles. The first one opens Kraid's mouth, like triggers the opening. Second one connects with Kraid, and the first super missile actually freezes Kraid's mouth open for a brief period of time, but it's enough to kill Kraid before the first phase ends, before Kraid raises up.
And I'll be honest with you, Zoast, I've done a few like marathon or event runs, and typically if I'm gonna get only one boss fight correct, I want it to be that one, because that one looks bad when you miss.
Yeah, it feels the worst because it's supposed to be the freest, for sure. But yeah, if you're not at the right X position, that second missile will just miss, and then you'll be late on the super, and it'll just go pretty wrong. You can back it up after that, but it's still, like in that case, if he fired the first super and it missed, then he wouldn't have enough supers, and then you'd be.
Oh, I'm sorry, Zos, go ahead.
Then you'd be taking Kraid to the prom, as we call it, and Kraid would rise up and it'd be really slow.
That's right. And I missed a second there. Did you discuss the Kraid missile that we'll be coming back for later?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, so just so anybody out there who might be aware, there actually is another item in Kraid's lair. There's a missile in that key hunter room. And unfortunately, we do not have any power bombs at the moment to be able to get to them. So that is going to be an item that we will return to pretty late in the run, either right before or usually right after Lower Norfair. That is, in my opinion, if you accidentally run a 99%, that's going to be one of the items that's a candidate for you to accidentally forget. but I'm sure Zeni will remember to come back for it. In the meantime, he's picking up what I believe is the most powerful item in the game, the high jump boots. And the reason I say that is because I think it has the biggest effect on your movement overall in terms of what you're accustomed to. Playing without high jump boots when you're used to having them is a pretty drastic change, and it definitely will make a lot of rooms faster as we move forward.
Yeah, Zeni, why don't you have power bombs yet? So there's a fork in this route actually where you can go get power bombs early, and it's very close in timing to this route we're seeing right now. It's, I think, technically faster to get power bombs early, but there are definitely benefits to doing this route. I believe one of the biggest ones, if I'm not mistaken, is that when you get the Crazy Tank, you automatically get 20 in reserve, like that little boost in your reserves from the B-toms in the Crate E-Tank room. And you always get the 3 super opening into Crate's lair. So there's like very similar, that's like more of a personal preference thing than anything between those routes.
Yeah, it could potentially save some time, but unless I'm mistaken, you kind of need some drop luck to fully realize it. And then on top of that, technically you're adding in a good bit more technicality at the beginning of the run when you go up Red Tower, which, you know, for a runner of Zeni's caliber, not really a big deal. But if you're just sort of getting into it, I wouldn't necessarily recommend adding more complexity. Here, we're going to grab another missile pack, and then the other piece of the movement items that are going to have the biggest impact on the run, the speed booster. I always refer to this as the most fun item in the game because I know everybody loves spring ball, but speed booster to me offers the coolest tech in the game. You know, shine sparking, doing short charges, things of that nature. It really affects the way you jump, how vertical you jump, depending on your momentum. You get a lot of cool options. So he'll utilize this item throughout the entire run.
Yeah, I agree. I usually answer Speed Booster as being my favorite item. Just it makes the game so much more fun to play. I can't imagine playing Super Metroid speedrunning it without Speed Booster. It wouldn't be the same at all.
Then you went for a D-boost off that orb there, which is, I think that one in particular is quite tight. But D-boosting is a really awesome mechanic in this game where, you know, you can, obviously, I know everyone who's familiar with speedrunning in general, there's D-boost in all kinds of games. But in this game, you actually can get different types of D-boost even from hitting the same thing, depending on when you press away. You have a certain frame window to press away, and then also kind of how you press jump. So we'll see a lot of that utilized throughout the run. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, that particular orb boost, you need a late D boost to have a low arc in your, like, the trajectory of the boost. So it's, I've heard it's a 1 frame boost. I'm thinking it's 2 frames, but I haven't really investigated it that deeply. It's very tight though.
Yeah, when in doubt, I just say it's real tight. It's real close.
Yeah, it's a D-boost. When you get hit, you want to be facing away from the direction you want to go. And right after you get hit, you press and hold jump, and then away, like the opposite direction that you're facing. And that sends you flying if you do it correctly. You have to do it pretty quickly, though.
Yeah, and while we're here, he just went through a room called the Frog Speedway, which he wouldn't have been able to go through until he had that speed booster. Unless he has, there's actually some kind of weird rando tech you can use with some beam combinations. But as you can see here, he's going to get ice early, which is a little bit different than the traditional route as Zoast already referred to. We'll need to hold on to that for later. But that Frog Speedway room, for those of you that don't know much about Super Metroid, there's a lot of crazy names for all the enemies, but let me just tell you this. If you don't know what to call something, anything, doesn't matter what it looks like, just call it a frog. That's pretty much what everybody does when they're playing this game.
So if you're new to this, if you're just picking up this category, you can get ice with the other route as well, just to make Red Tower easier. So for a beginner route, you probably would get ice as well as grapple early.
Yeah, you're actually setting me up to talk about something I'm actually pretty passionate about when it comes to speed running this game. I think this game is extremely fun, and it's awesome to watch the best players utilize the most advanced strats and whatnot. But especially when you're first getting started, you do not have to try to mimic or copy the strats that you see, like the world record holders, for example, utilize. This game is very heavy on technical ability with the controller, and anything you can do to sort of ease into the game and make your learning process easier, I'm a big fan of. So even if grabbing an ice beam early loses you some time, it actually might be the best thing for you at first.
Yeah, there's some other things you can do as well in addition to getting that early ice beam. Like, I think one good one to do as a beginner might be to do the wreck ship E-tank after you get gravity, which is, I don't think it's that big of a time loss, but it makes that spiky room of death that I was referring to earlier a lot less scary. You can do the gauntlet late, like I was referring to earlier as well, the area above the ship. Yeah, there's a number of things you can do that doesn't lose that much time in this category, but just gets you, on your feet and get you actually finishing the game.
That's right. Speaking of D-boost, here's one here. Nicely done. And this was the power bomb pack that Zos was referring to earlier that you can pick up at the beginning of the game. You'll note that Zeni actually just walked directly past an orange door. Usually that orange door, we have to open it now before we come back in a lot of other categories. But in 100%, we're never going to route back into this area of the game. So once we leave this little section, we won't be coming back because we'll be heading to the surface area where the ship is before returning to clean up the green Brinstar area. So that's why you will see that he did not open that door. He also will not have to open up the door, not in this next room, but the room after that. There'll be an orange door that closes behind him. He won't have to open that door either.
Yeah, essentially, to get up to the ship area and wreck ship, you have there's three elevators connecting the lower parts and the top parts here of the game. So you want to go up one and then down one to go towards Ridley and Dragon and all that stuff, and then you go up the third one to get to Turian, basically, as far as efficient routing.
Normally here I would sing, but given the fact that we have thousands and thousands of viewers, I'm not going to put everybody through that. But I just want to say that was a really great ocean fly there by Zeni. Very tightly done, especially with the beam shot. If I recall correctly, now, I'm not going to put you guys through that. Maybe later, but Zeni just used a beam to shoot that open. I believe that's a tighter window than missiles and supers. Correct me if I'm wrong, Zos.
I think it's I would say it's tighter than supers. I think it's kind of similar to the missile strat. I don't think it's that much more difficult than the missile strat, but I'd say it's more difficult than using a super to open the door. I might have to have Zeni correct me on this one. It's been a while since I haven't relearned a little bit.
It's pretty similar.
It
kind of depends on how much speed you have entering the room. Mm-hmm. That trick is actually giving me a lot of trouble, so nice to get that.
Okay.
Yeah, you made it face, and I expected you not to get it based on the face, but then you got it, so feels good, man.
Yeah, it's like maybe like a 5-second time loss if you miss Ocean Fly. So it's nice to get it.
Ooh, unfortunate, but not unexpected. Opening round slow for Fantoon here.
Yeah, Fantoon has
even those...
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Zos.
Yeah, you have a 50% chance for slow, mid, fast in first round. This is looking like a mid-right on the second round. Oh my goodness.
Man, you hate to see that, man. And that's the worst one, too, because the mid happens fairly frequently there. But, and once again, part of the reason, Zos and I have actually talked about this with each other several times, part of the reason that the slow patterns on the second round in particular are really bad is because not only are you losing time, but you have a way higher likelihood of getting flame lamed, which we just saw. However, Zeni did a fantastic job of cleaning that up. He had a great Doppler, and the Doppler method is used in any percent new route, which you don't have hardly any items when you get up here. It's kind of ironic to me that you kind of come in here loaded up with extra items, but you still use the same strat there.
Right, so we don't use X Factor strats 100% anymore because of that route change where you have Ice Beam early. So like pausing is just not worth it when you can still do a 2-round with missiles And the Doppler effect is named after the, the physics effect of, where sounds are pushed closer to when sound is moving towards you, it has a different frequency than it's moving away from you because it's being dragged or pushed, in essence. It's the same thing with these.
Science lessons done quick.
Yeah. So we're pushing missiles towards Fantoon to get them there quicker, like we're running towards Fantoon while we're shooting. And that, if you do it correctly, you have to time out your missiles pretty precisely, but if you do it correctly, it keeps Fantoon from disappearing when Fantoon normally would disappear after taking a certain amount of damage. Allows you to get more damage in and get that 2-round in. So yeah, the mid-right Fantoon is 3 times more likely than slow right, so it's really frustrating when you get a right side slow in second round. Very nice spiky room of death there.
Yeah, that was real nice. Oh, also, this next room here that he's coming up on, the wreck ship energy tank, is actually significantly different strat-wise than it would be in the traditional route, because in here you would normally have grapple. He does not, so he's going to have to utilize a very interesting bomb jump there, but nailed it. Well done.
Right, so this was one of the biggest problem areas of doing this optimal route compared to the normal route with grapple. This was before we thought to bomb jump, and 2Cat actually came up with the bomb jump strat to get to wreck shippy tank without too much trouble. You can actually jump, just straight up jump over there with high jump, but it's very precise and it's very prone to failure. The other...
So we are in the... Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Zos.
So that and the actual ice, like the using ice to clip to spring ball were the biggest problem. Well, that and the wreck ship, like health conservation. Those 3 things were the biggest impediments to doing this route. And there was not like a really, there wasn't a consistent way to do that clip, the ice clip to spring ball before, 3 or 4 years ago, I guess 4 or 5 years ago.
Speaking of energy conservation, we just saw one of the main rooms of this portion of the run where, different strats could potentially eat up different amounts of energy. And he really did a nice job of executing a very technical strat there in the attic. And he has been very conscious and diligent about his energy. You'll note that right now, even using some deboost, or I guess maybe iframes to get through some of these robots. That room to me might be the most annoying room in the entire run. If it goes poorly, it usually goes very poorly, but man, he just killed that attic on the way in and on the way out. Nicely done.
Very nice stuff here from Zeni.
Thanks. Yeah, that's definitely one of the more difficult parts of the run, especially here with all the health conservation you got to do. But I think we're sitting in a pretty good spot.
Zos, we're about to come up on a really interesting potential strat here. I don't fully understand how it works because it's just so complicated and I can never figure it out. So will you tell us a little bit about is it the flush? What do you call the strat?
Yeah, this is the robot flusher. So there's 2 robots underneath the floor here, like in the same room, but they're under the floor. And we're gonna set up a very particular set of charge beam shots, and they have to be within a couple of tiles, I'd say, at least, on the the X position as far as shooting those beams down. And you have to have a certain amount of speed to push your beam on the correct trajectory to the right. And you also have to sort of, after the first beam, kind of jump up to the right a certain amount to actually have it hit the robot. But it looked like he got it, and these robots should be pushed down into the hole, where usually when you come down here, they'd be all in your way and you'd have to shoot them a bunch of times and wait for them to get pushed into the hole. But he used that power bomb as well at the end, there's usually a Chorizo statue holding that missile, but everything's just cleared out of the way and ready to roll right here.
Yeah, he nailed it. That was beautiful.
You guys keep talking about strats right before I get to them, and then I get all nervous that I'm gonna mess it up.
So what he's going to do now is try to turn through these crumble blocks to gain a few frames here. Clearly, he wasn't capable of getting that third one. I'm sure he'll practice that later.
We're gonna see a speedball to the missile down here. It's really not that difficult. Nah, Zeni goes for a really crazy speedball to this missile down here. Most people just try to jump into the hole without actually doing a mock ball or a speedball here, but Zeni's kind of I totally jinxed him. That's a very.
I blame you.
That's a very difficult trick.
Yeah, that's a tight one for sure. This next one is also pretty tight. He's gonna attempt to get a little mock ball through this next room.
Yeah, I think this is technically.
Oh, just barely short.
I think this is technically called the impulse mock ball for a runner that ran when I first started playing, and hasn't really ran very much since then. So most people don't know who that is, but yeah, that's the impulse mock ball.
So pay close attention. I really dig the strat that Zeni goes for here. This is a non-standard strat. I think this is much more difficult, but this is really sweet when he gets it. Look at that.
Freezing the second
Beautiful.
dragon, yeah. It's really good. And he get the boost all the way to the power bomb, which is really nice too. So we're gonna do a wraparound shot here. We're gonna actually shoot the door on the left side from the right side, because the way the rooms are stored in like memory, or the way I don't know the whole technical explanation, but the rooms sort of wrap around if you get out of bounds. So there's kind of like copies of the room to the left and right, and so on. So you can shoot the door to the left from the right side. Now you need a really precise shot to do that. It doesn't just let you do that easily. But yeah.
Oh my God, I can't believe he's going for this. Are you kidding me?
So this strat is a strat.
Yeah.
This strat is a strat I'm gonna call, for the purpose of the stream, the Scoodly Poop Master.
Oh my God, dude! I cannot believe we just saw that on stream. Nice, Zeni.
It's a very
nice.
difficult trick. Oh my goodness. That is not.
That's a big time loss right here.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
So we want to go down.
Yeah, just. Oh, go ahead, Zos. You can explain.
I was just saying, we want to go down to the very center of those crumble blocks to get both of those missiles. We're gonna have to wrap around and get them again. But yeah, that back gauntlet spark that you saw is insanely hard to do. You have to do a very hard short charge, and it has to be a very particular short charge, or you have to adjust when you get those blue echoes, because you want the blue echoes to open up the floor, but you don't want to fall down in the hole like when you do it. So it's like super precise as far as when blue actually activates. And then on top, and then after that, you have to press down before you hit the Torizo, and then lay the power bomb, and then jump in, and then jump up and do the spark in time. So there's a lot going on in that strat.
This is probably a good time for donations.
Fantastic. Sassy Zeni sends us $75. They say, "We are so glad to be involved in another GDQ charity event. Thank you, GDQ, for fundraising over $300,000 to support Direct Relief. And thank you, Direct Relief, supporting communities in need during this pandemic. Let's get a good old-fashioned donation train, and this time, choose kill, and pretend you're killing COVID-19. Thank you, Sassy. Appreciate it."
Nice, Sassy. And man, has there ever been, I can't even say the strat, it's so ironic. Has there ever been a run that has had that strat in it successfully twice in a row?
I'd be surprised if there was. That's pretty insane. So yeah, it's
I did it on purpose.
It's unfortunate it's unfortunate that you made that mistake with the two missiles, but that was a huge flex to do that twice. So it kind of worth
Right. That's like being in a real swag car, but going like maybe 30 miles lower than the speed limit, just so everybody can see you. That was nicely done, Zeni.
See a little bit more of this moonfall tech. You can see more of it in 100% than 80%. It has a lot more uses. So this is kind of one of my favorite parts of 100%. The green print start cleanup. Got a lot of cool strats. It's just fun to do, I think.
Yeah, that room, I think I mentioned this several times, but this room right here that Zeni's in always reminds me, and I'm sure it was intended to, of that Kraid room in the NES Metroid and Nestroid.
Oh yeah.
And it definitely got me when I played it the first time. I think it probably got everybody.
It was I think it's a lot more brutal in Metroid 1 if I remember correctly though. Like, it's such a long backtrack if I remember right in Metroid 1 to get back to that area. It's not too bad in this game.
Yeah, I think you just wrapped up the entirety of what Nestroid is. Make a tiny mistake and get punished for the next 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And I played that game a ton as a kid and yeah, left a few scars.
I enjoyed Metroid 1 more after I played Super Metroid and went back to it. I feel like I kind of understood the tricks and traps of Metroid a little bit more in general, how to get around.
Oh yeah, I still love it, but it definitely beat me up as a kid. All right, explain this one, Zoast. This is another real, cool and sort of famous strat coming up here. Tell us what we're about to see.
This is called the Mission Impossible because you drop down and then jump right back up the ceiling. We're going to do a quick drop on the crumble block, and then we're going to use our automatic jump. So if you hold jump when you're falling down, like right before you hit the ground, you can do like a little auto jump. So we're auto spin jumping and then wall jumping before the crumble block can reappear. It used to be a task only strat, but at one point I figured out that you could do that little auto jump and still pull it off.
It's a hot strat.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, this is not the fastest way to set that strat up, but you can actually sync that strat up with the music of Green Brinstar. It's actually, if you listen to the tempo, metronome-wise, you can actually jump and turn and do a few things and line it up that way.
Really? For Mission Impossible?
Yeah, True Moss figured that out. Yeah,
That's cool.
We talked about it on one of the strat chats. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but it's definitely possible.
So we're getting Spore Spawn Super now without fighting Spore Spawn. So we skipped Spore Spawn earlier and we're skipping Spore Spawn again. Poor Spore Spawn. There's a super block for exiting Spore Spawn's area here. And normally you wouldn't be able to shoot it from the left, but if you precisely load the block in a certain way, you can still shoot it from the left. I think back in the day they actually crystal flashed to get past it or something. But
really, that's
I
crazy.
Think way back in ancient history, they used to crystal flash to get around that. But
okay, here's a small thing, and I have no idea if this is 100% accurate, but Zoast, we're about to go down into the waterway tank, and I'm curious to see. I did some tests on this in the practice ROM, but you know how it is. Sometimes in the practice ROM, things can be slightly inaccurate for lag, and I noticed that sometimes when I got to top speed, if I kept arm pumping, it caused more lag, and so it ended up being not as fast as just running in certain portions of the room.
Yes.
Do you have any knowledge of that?
That's very true. I'm almost certain that if you don't want to be arm pumping when you start breaking through all those blocks, and the enemies right before the energy tank, yeah, you don't want to be arm pumping there because it will lag the game. It's not worth the arm pumps. There are definitely certain parts. There are certain strategies in the rooms where you don't want to arm pump because it just causes more lag and it doesn't save as much. The lag costs more time than actually the pixel pushing, the 1 pixel forward you get from the arm pumps. Yeah.
Exactly. And real quick, I like this room too. I think this is a neat portion of the run. Zeni just dropped a power bomb near the top of that Green Hills room. And the reason for that is because there is an orange door up there that will lead back to Retro Brinstar. We'll come to that later in the game. And so he won't have to use a power bomb then to open it. He went for one of my favorite strats in the game, Blockbuster there. Number one, I just think it's a cool strat. Number two, I think it's a little bit more difficult than it looks, which I think is neat. And then also I love the name because I'm a 90s child. So gotta love Blockbuster. He almost had it. He was going for a speedball back into the Red Tower room, which would have initially broken those blocks and saved a second, from having to drop another bomb. But he's still got through there very quickly, and now we're going to head to Meridia.
So we're going to see one of the harder short charges that's required in this category. Well, you don't have to do it this way, but yeah, this is like a stutter 3-tap at least, I think, or a 4-tap, or maybe you can do it with a straight up 3-tap, but it'd be pretty hard. I can't remember.
Yeah. Of course, I'm not surprised to see him nail it first try after the gauntlet shenanigans, so
if you're
well done there.
Sorry. Yeah, if you're new to the game, you just want to go to the room to the right in the bottom of that room and do the intended method of sort of spoilers for those who haven't casually played the game, but to get that missile, like the intended way is to go to the room to the right and then do a shine spark there where the green gate is, and you don't have to do a crazy short charge.
That's right. And now we're in the Mama Turtle room. This missile pack is actually one of the prime candidates for if you're playing casually and trying to find every item before you beat the game. This might be one of the ones that you accidentally overlook. I think someone was talking about how I think the only way to see that one with X-ray is to like be on Mama Turtle or something. I don't know if that's true, but I thought it was pretty neat.
Yeah, I guess you could ride Mama Turtle from the right side and see with X-ray, but that's kind of,
pretty unlikely you're going to do that casually.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only reason I mention it is because apparently somebody did that on a blind playthrough on Twitch one time. But anyway, I just think that's pretty neat.
They use X-ray on Mama Turtle on the right side.
Yeah,
Wow.
no, I didn't see it, so you know how it is. Somebody could have just made that up, but I did remember hearing somebody talk about it. But yeah, we're going to head up here. This is another section we don't normally go to, the beach missiles as well as the watering hole. We're going to have 2 missile packs and a super up here. Actually, in Zeni's most famous category, RBO, he would not pick up the super pack up here in his run, but if you're new to RBO and you're just trying to get through the run, this is actually a good place to go to get some extra supers to get prepared for Ridley.
Yeah, for new runners at RBO, you can pick up this super, you can pick up the crab super that we got just a minute ago as well. And you can get like Batuan E-Tank, and I think maybe another E-Tank, the Mama Turtle E-Tank.
That is correct. So now we will head over to, let me think about this for a minute. I believe the next item he's going to collect is going to be the precious missiles. Is that accurate?
I think that's correct.
I think he's going to skip over the Batuan tank. You'll note, for those of you familiar with Super Metroid, he will kill Batuan here in a minute, everyone's favorite sea snake. And then normally you would pick up that energy tank, but he's going to skip it for now and get it on a return trip.
Yeah, you kind of have to loop around Meridia a couple of times because of the sand pits that go in one direction. It's just kind of the fastest way to route is to loop around from bottom to top a couple of times. So we'll be going through this area like 3 times, I think, with Batuan's E-Tank.
Zoast, if you don't mind humoring me, there's something I like to say every time Batuan dies. Batuan is one of, I think, Super Metroid Runner's least favorite creatures in this game. His hitbox is terrible, so die, monster. You don't belong in this world.
Yeah, Batuan's hitbox for his head is really wonky. So some shots that look like they obviously should hit his head just will completely miss because like the neck will block it or something stupid like that. And another thing that makes Batuan frustrating is that Batuan has slightly less super drop luck. Like the percentage for super drops is a little less on Batuan, so he famously will, be stingy when you need supers in any percent, for instance.
And he just picked up the precious missiles. Do you remember how they got that name?
I do not know that one.
So apparently in an SRL race a long time ago, I don't remember who it was, but they were racing and someone said, yeah, I missed the missiles in the previous room, but accidentally typed precious instead of previous. And so ever since then, it's been called the precious room. So there you go.
That's funny. So Zeni's going to do a Shine Spark. He's going to try to do a 2 Shine Spark kill on Dragon here. See if we get a good pattern. Nope, we get the slow pattern. This is the only pattern that loses time. So we just barely didn't get enough damage on Dragon. You want to sort of Shine Spark Dragon near the top of the hitbox. I didn't see really what went wrong there. It looked pretty good.
Hey, he got the Spike Vegeta suit.
Yeah, so Spike Suit is really helpful in this category, even more so than any percent, because you have to go get Space Jump here. And if you don't have Spike Suit, you can't hold a Shine Spark.
You guys want to talk about what a spike suit is?
A spike suit. So
Actually, Zoasty, do you mind if I explain this one real quick?
go ahead.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you the most technical response I can give you. Basically, you store a shine spark, run into the electricity, and then mash the jump button as feverishly as possible and hope that you get 2 frames correctly that are 9 frames apart. There you go. There's no way your answer was going to be better than that, so thank you.
Yeah. This is called the Yo Dog Boost. I like this one. So you get a D-boost inside your D-boost because you like D-boosting so much. Oh, we missed the second
Zoast. I'm blaming you, man. You said it right before it happened.
Oh, we get a second chance for that.
It's okay, we can try again later.
Yeah. I'm actually going to do a moonfall in the sand here. So he's going to do turnarounds and go faster than normally you could because you're in a moonfall state.
Yeah, that's actually kind of relatively recent tech in the grand scheme of things. Not just Moonfall, but like that in particular. I don't think I had seen that until fairly recently. Is that accurate?
I think so. I think that's a pretty recent, relatively, it's a very recent application of Moonfall. But yeah, with so when you kill Dragon, a lot of times you'll get this thing called Blue Suit if you kill Dragon with a Shine Spark, and you'll have a stored spark. Well, let's talk about this clip instead.
Yeah, hit it.
So we're going to be trying to do this clip. I think he's going to do the method that I came up with originally, where you hold a charge briefly and then you sort of run into the. Oh gosh, no, we did. Well, he'll reload the room here. So you kind of store a charge in a spin jump or a space jump, and then you kind of run into the enemy in a particular way where when she gets hit, she releases that charge. I think that's what he did. I don't know. Maybe he has a different method now. But yeah, it kind of times out the freeze in the way you need it to, like the correct frame for freezing the enemy, because it's pretty precise. There's different methods now. I think Behemoth or Ed, and I don't know exactly who all came up with the other strat. There's a camera manipulation strat that's a little easier, but it's not as fast as the instant clip that Zenny was going for there.
Yeah, you've got about, to get that Puyo frozen in the exact right position, you've got about the same amount of time that you would have to utilize an avocado after you peel it or open it. It's very precise.
But yeah, going back to the Blue Suit thing. So we get Blue Suit, and that's a stored Shine Spark. Eventually I'll get through this. And but the thing with Blue Suit is you can't use the dash button or you'll lose your ability to Shine Spark. So it kind of slows you down if you're going to get space jump and then going on back to the right through that room again. So the Spike Suit allows you to have that stored Shine Spark, but still use dash. And we're going to try to go for another. The main reason I'm so adamant in explaining this is because we're going to try to go for a Spike Suit later in the run that's sort of important. I mean, it will save five seconds or so if he can get it. But yeah.
Yeah, that one's tough to keep too.
Yeah, so there's one later that you get in Croc's area, and you try to hold on to it for like a full minute or minute and a half or something. But the thing with Spike Suit is if you press jump in the wrong way, like if you're not moving and you press jump, you'll use your Shine Spark. If you press jump or up, I think it's up mainly when you're jumping, you'll use the Shine Spark. It's just really easy to accidentally lose your Shine Spark with Spike Suit if you're going at any sort of distance.
One small thing I'd like to point out that I don't know who, with Super Metroid, it's hard to tell who did what first, but the first time I saw this next strat, it was from Zenny. And one thing we haven't really talked about is door transitions. Door transitions, every time you leave a room, the door is trying to center itself, and so you can do different things to fix the doors. Like right there, that was a perfect transition. But this next room right here, he's gonna fall, or he's gonna attempt to fall, into, I think he barely missed it. He's going to try to attempt to fall in a very specific place down there. That door transition right there can be actually very bad, but the strat that he's come up with to fix it is actually very interesting.
Yeah, so the door was still a little off there because he was wanting to do a moonfall down to the very bottom of the room, which allows the camera to sort of go, like when you go all the way down, like the camera moves in a certain way to where when you go back up, it centers the door again. So yeah, you don't always want to fix the door, but in general, it's one of those hidden techs. It's easier for a newcomer to miss, like, or not notice that it's happening, and you can lose a lot of time indoors if you're not paying attention. So it depends on the movement in the next room. Sometimes it's worth not fixing the door as much. You're not trying to go for a perfect door. But a lot of times we do want to fix those doors because you can lose like a full second if the door is really off-centered when you enter it.
Yeah, and in particular, I've been pointing this out in several tournament commentaries lately. This is a good room to demonstrate that a little bit. We won't really be able to see it, but I'm sure Zos could maybe give us some insight on this. But even when the screen goes completely black and you don't see anything for a little bit, there's still a door transition happening. And a door correction. And these rooms in particular, if you jump in these sand pits at the wrong place, these can be some of the worst transitions in the entire game.
Yeah, you'll see he like centered the sand pit in the very center of the room. Like the left boundaries of the sand pit were kind of even on the edges of the screen. That was to make sure that the door transition was as good as possible there. Because if you go down like the edge of the sand, you'll lose literally like a second or a second and a half.
Yeah, it's major. Look at this bomb. I love this bomb strat. Oh, so close.
So you can spring ball across that gap. It's really tight, and you can also set up a bomb there to where sometimes the bomb will propel you into the left side without having to fall down. See if we can do a double boost here. Nice. Yeah, there's a lot of hidden tech in this game as well. A lot of it's kind of obvious, but then there's still a lot of hidden tech as well.
That's also the beauty of this game, you know, because, you know, obviously I really enjoy watching the top players utilize the most advanced strats, but like there's still a lot of ways for you to put your own sort of spin on a run. No matter what level you're playing at, and there's just so many different options for every single room that it's cool to watch multiple runners approach things in different ways.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily a question of what's the fastest exactly. Like a lot of times there's just different options for doing things as fast as possible, sort of. I'm not sure how to explain this the best, but if you look at the top players, you know, a lot of times there's a huge difference in the way they play the game, and they're still doing things like pretty much optimally. So it's really cool to see the variation of play in this game.
For sure, and some of that variation comes from, you know, things as technical as like button layout. Sometimes it comes from, you know, certain strengths and weaknesses a runner might have. It also kind of comes down to what the context is. Sometimes runners will play differently in a race than they would in a PB attempt and stuff like that. So this game is really beautiful. I mean, it's a beautifully designed game, and it allows for our artists to really take advantage of the creativity available to them. So we're going to skip over Croc one more time. Or actually, I take that back. I believe... No, we're going to hit Croc on the way out in this route. So Crocomire is still down there. We did not kill him earlier in the run. We're going to skip him now, but we will hit him on the way out. And that way, if we get that spike suit that Zos was talking about earlier, we can take that straight to the X-ray room and use that to get across. But that's in the future. We're about to enter my favorite portion of pretty much any category. I love Lower Norfair. I think it's cool no matter what category it is. Nice D-boost there.
Yeah, well, I think one of the main reasons you want to do Croc after Lower Norfair is that missile that on the exit of coming back up towards the elevator there. So that missile on the green gate, you want to be sure to pick that up as well. But it also works out nice because we can use it's. It'd be pretty bad if you had to carry a spike suit all the way through Little North Fair. That wouldn't work out too well.
That would be pretty bad. Yeah, pretty bad.
So this is the room I was talking about where you have to have space jump here actually for this chorizo to trigger. If you don't have space jump, the chorizo will not grab you. It will not drain this lava. So that's what keeps us from some rerouting. Otherwise, we could try to reroute Ridley after Crade and do Lower North Fair all in one, or all of North Fair, upper and lower in one pass. And like I said, there are ways to get around that, but they're not very friendly.
Yeah, Zenny made probably...
Nightmare.
Oh, no.
The nightmare.
I'm so sorry, Zenny. I was just about to say, Zenny accidentally made what you would call maybe the second worst mistake you can make with the crumble blocks earlier. This was probably worse in terms of pure time loss. Obviously, it's not a big deal, like, for this context. It'll just take a minute to loop back around, but those crumble blocks can be quite tricky.
This is a chance to show off your max GT skills, Zenny.
Yeah, look at the bright side. One small thing to be aware of if you're new to the game is crumble blocks. If you have spring ball and you just literally hold down the jump button, you will always get a frame perfect jump off of crumble blocks. You'll never fall. So you can do a pretty easy strat to make sure you don't fall down there. However, it is definitely slower and not what the top runners would be going for in a PB attempt. So not a big deal. Zenny will just roll back around here and do it one more time.
Nice, got the door shot this time.
I see what's going on here. He'd missed that on purpose so he could go back and get that strat right the second time. There you go.
Spring ball just for you.
Thank you. As you can see, not the fastest strat, but pretty safe.
Hey, let me cut in a donation with you guys, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I got $50 from Dangers, the runner of SMO. They said Dangers here. Hoping to squeeze this in to save the animals, keep it true to my word. Thanks again to GDQ for putting us on, and good luck, Zenny. Thank you, Dangers.
So should we talk about the next item, or I don't want to curse Zenny again.
Yeah, go for it.
I want another crumble block fill. This is one of the other parts where you can lose a lot of time and interest. So those are crumble blocks on that second floor under the one that he broke, and you'd have to loop around again there if you fell there, but he did it perfectly that time. That was.
Yeah, we used to. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, so you can finish.
I was just gonna say those are the Mickey Mouse missiles, I believe, because the room looks like Mickey Mouse.
I was gonna mention that. That's what we used to call it, but then once Twitch started adding the global emote for Dead Mouse, it was changed to the Dead Mouse missiles. Also, we didn't want to have any trouble with our all-powerful overlords, Disney. So real quick, Zenny just used some great lag reduction strats. Zoast has mentioned this earlier in the run. I do want to just kind of briefly talk about it again. RTA-wise, that's typically what we're going for. Our in-game time is unaffected by lag. Like if you lag the game, then technically the in-game time will lag with it, if that makes sense. But the RTA, we're trying to reduce as much lag as possible. So one of the things Zenny did in that previous room was there were 3 key hunters, and he was able to use his screw attack and plasma beam to kill all 3 before putting down that power bomb, and that greatly reduced the amount of lag in the room and made it much faster. Ooh, this is a good strat. What we got here? We gonna get it?
Yo, oh. So close. That's still really good.
So close,
though.
but that was still good, yeah.
It's still really, really sick. Yeah, lag reduction is a huge part of this game as well. Like Kipp said, if you're going for in-game time, for some reason, it does not matter. The in-game timer does not count lag, it doesn't count pauses, it doesn't count door transitions, it doesn't count, let's see, some cutscenes. I'm not sure if it counts the series cutscene, but yeah, it doesn't count a lot of stuff. So the strats for RTA and IGT are a little bit different. But most people run RTA straight up now these days.
And the boss that probably tripped up many runners when they played this game for the first time casually was just defeated while we were casually talking about lag reduction strats. That was very fast. Anytime you have a full beam combination, and in particular, if you have a full beam combination and have the ability to spam a bunch of supers, that Ridley fight can go very quickly. It only requires 20 charge shots, or 3 different supers will equal 2 charge shots. So if you can get him in a pogo pattern and just unload some supers, that's actually the fastest method. The only time that you would want to not shoot supers, this is very category dependent, but the only time you'd want to not unload your supers is if there was a reason you needed to save them, like for future Torian situations or something. But nice spring ball clip. Can you kind of explain what we just saw there?
Yeah, that strat's interesting in that you just hold jump pretty much throughout the whole strat. You have to obviously move left and right in a particular way, but if you set it up correctly entering the room, you can just hold jump to clip through those platforms. So when they're coming down, yeah, I don't know how exactly it works, but it looks like you get in sort of their hitbox a little bit and just like spring ball off the middle of them to clip through them. That's my layman's way of explaining it. That appears to be what's happening. But the interesting thing about that strat is, Zeni can correct me if I'm wrong, the interesting thing about that strat is if you do it correctly, the fact that it's so normalized because of the automatically, you're like just holding jump to automatically spring ball, is you get to the top in a way that manipulates the disc giga, the big hopper on the ceiling to the left, to I think it always jumps immediately to the right, so you can immediately like damage boost to the right as well. So that's kind of one of the, I think, hidden benefits to that strat, is that those disc gigas are on sort of like a timer when you enter the room, and you can manipulate their patterns if you move correctly.
It's a great point, and I like this strat. I always found this very fascinating. Did he just basically do a spin jump into a space jump once he loaded the room there? Is that what happened?
Yeah, you want to do a very small spin jump there so you can space jump as soon as you enter the room so you don't fall all the way down. And there's also some hidden stuff going on in that X-ray maze, because you're supposed to, wait, is it, you're supposed to use X-ray there? I can't remember. But yeah, that maze where you can't really see yourself and he's springballing in, there's some sort of hidden methods to it, like going through that fast as well. There's something I found, I don't know if it's probably known by multiple people, but yeah, you can automatically hold jump and like do a spring ball through a gap in one of the last spaces in that little maze there. There's some hidden tech in there though, basically what I'm trying to say.
That's a great point. And another cool thing, I mentioned at the beginning of this run how it's neat when you come back way later for items that you skipped earlier, and this is one of those situations. We were in Bubble Mountain much earlier in the run when we were first getting our speed booster and wave beam, but now we have returned after exiting Lower Norfair to pick up this Norfair reserve tank and a few more missiles. In particular, I believe, unless I'm misremembering, the last Norfair item that you would pick up in the traditional route will actually be the Bubble Mountain missiles that we'll pick up here in a couple rooms. Obviously, that's changed with this route because we haven't done Crocomire yet, but I'm a big fan of this Bubble Mountain strat coming up. It's one of my favorites in the game. There's a few variations, and Zeni does a really cool one. Let's see if he can get it here.
Very nice. Strat's not over though. If you get the full strat, you get this little deboost off the waiver, but it's very difficult. So if you get up here fast enough, you can deboost off the waiver. Oh my goodness, sorry for. I'm
So
sorry.
close.
Zeni.
But even so, the first part of that strat is still awesome. I mean, there's nothing that feels better than deboosting across the entire large room like that. Very cool.
Yeah. No, it's really amazing strat. Even if you don't get the waiver deboost. Like I said, the waiver deboost is really hard to get.
All right, so we're coming up on what I like to refer to as, I think Crocomire is basically like the puppy of Super Metroid, okay? When it comes to space creatures, he's quite cute, I think. And I would like to point out that technically he didn't do anything wrong. I don't even think he's trying to hurt you. I think he's just trying to play. You know, he's trying to play fetch with his ball. But Samus, being the bounty hunter killer that she is, has no time for that. So she gets to one-shot Crocomire here with the plasma beam. I don't really know all the full technicalities, but basically it hits Crocomire multiple times, pushing him back, and you can actually avoid some of those scratches that you would have in the traditional route. Now, Zos mentioned earlier that this is the hardest and most complex spike suit in the game, not just because of getting it. It's hard to get with Spring Ball, but more importantly, trying to hold it all the way to X-Ray. Zos, we could probably seriously talk about this for like the next 3 or 4 minutes straight. Tell us a little bit about what he's doing, how it could go wrong, and how he's going to try to save this.
Yeah, so with Spring Ball, it actually becomes a little bit more difficult to get the spike suit because you have to unmorph very specifically with up. So you want to unmorph the first frame. I think it's the first frame you touch the spikes, you unmorph to get this sort of like, it's sort of like a recoil that you get from the spikes, and it allows you to be able, I think is it 10 frames later? It allows you to shine spark in a way that gives you that spike suit. So it's like a double frame perfect, more or less, trick that you have to really time out like that to get that spike suit. And now he's got a stored shine spark. But like I said, if he presses jump on the ground when he's not moving in any way, he will accidentally use it. If he presses jump or up in the air in the wrong way, he will accidentally use it. So you have to be very careful about your movement. If you like run into something and accidentally press a jump or something like that, you can use it. If you're in the air and unspin and then press the wrong button, you can accidentally use it. So it's very easy to mess this up. Zeni's, I don't want to curse him again, but Zeni really is probably the best person in the world at holding these spike suits because of his experience in RBO. I would say he's the best person in the world at doing this.
I would agree with that. And as Zos pointed out, I'll give you the Cliff's Notes version of it. It's hard, ladies and gentlemen. One thing I will point out real quick, Zeni is saving several seconds down here that he would not have saved if he had done the traditional route, because he has Space Jump and Screw Attack down here and Spring Ball, actually. So he utilized all 3 of those items in some way, shape, or form in several of those rooms to save a little bit of time that he would not have been able to do if he did not have them. So now we're getting to one of the harder parts of keeping this spike suit and the last item of Norfair in this particular route.
That's a very difficult space jump to do because you're so close to the lava.
That was real nice.
So he's gotten past most of the hard parts as far as holding the spike suit. It still can go wrong, but these last parts aren't quite as difficult as far as holding the spike suit. So it's looking good as far as I see in this X-ray spark.
Yeah, he's looking real strong.
But yeah, as far as the Croc time save, I think that Crocomire is the biggest time save as far as the route is concerned, like Crocomire fight itself. Especially if you don't get perfect RNG.
Yeah, I would assume so.
Route, it just wastes a lot of time because Croc can like swipe and he like pound the ground and swipe for a second when you can't do anything. So yeah.
All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Hey,
So that
nice.
Shine Spark saves about 5 seconds as far as compared to space jumping across the room. Because you can't get a really fast run to the left there. You know, as far as space jumping, you get sort of a run, but it's not the best sort of run speed to the left.
Yeah, I think that deserves a got him
for the speed keep. So if you unmorph a frame perfectly on the spikes in a certain way, you can resume your sort of dash speed. And yeah, you can sort of pick up where you left off with your dash speed to the right, but it's a little off with that. But like I said, it's frame perfect.
Now, so let me ask you a quick question. Ironically, I mean, I know, you know, a decent amount about Hundo just because I know a decent amount about Super Metroid, but this is, you know, for me personally, not one of my strongest categories. I haven't done it as much as obviously someone like you or several other players, but to me, the amount that I have done it, I have found this Retro Brinstar section to be one of the most technically demanding sections. Do you agree? Like, tell me a little bit about the section. Are some of the strats here tough, or is it just me being bad?
Definitely, I'd say movement-wise, it's one of the hardest parts of the game. If you're going for the hard strats, I mean, especially if you go for the really crazy strats, there's sort of like a range of, you know, strats from, you know, the easy ones. Obviously, you could not try to go for crazy strats, and then there's sort of like you're going for the crazy strats, but you're not really pushing them to the limits. And then, you know, Zeni tends to push things to the limits. So like, yeah, you can make it very difficult in this section to pull off the strats. There's just a lot of hard movement in this part of the game, this Retro Brinstar part.
Well, Zeni coming up with must be a faster strat here, but has ruined the joke behind this room, which is we call this the Billy Mays missile room because you get the missile on the pedestal, but wait, there's more. But technically, the wait, there's more came first. So thanks a lot, Zeni.
Missed the fast strat, Kipp. Sorry.
That's okay.
So we're about done with our item collecting here. We're about done with the main part of the game. We're going to head to Turian soon. We've got 3 more items to pick up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
the
right.
first missiles are the ones
Missile
in the old
supers and
Mother Brain room. I guess some hapless Metroid runners that missed missiles on Mother Brain. They got stuck under Mother Brain, and we're going to pick them up after the fact.
If you don't mind, let me cut in with a couple of donations.
Sure.
All right, Horse Pop sends us $5. Says, "Hey Zeni, awesome seeing you on Hundo and GDQ. You are killing it." And we have some random guy donating $100. Says, "Save the whatever, whatnot, or don't ever. Decisions are hard." Yes, they are. Thank you so much, random guy. Appreciate it.
So,
Also got $15 from Siri. Sorry, Apple users. I said, "Thanks for keeping my weekend entertaining. CRDQ has really made my quarantine so much better. Let's get that KH2 incentive met." You guys are doing really great. You guys are keeping that going up during this run. It is currently up to $11,000. Let's keep that going, guys.
so
Yeah, we should say real quick, definitely appreciate being a part of this event. Awesome to raise money for a good cause. And give a shout out to all the gamers out there and fans of speedrunning. We appreciate your support.
So that was our last item pickup there. That's an item we call the 230 missiles. Or you can call them the dental plan missiles, or at least it needs braces missiles if you want to be funny. Because
Why do you call them the dental plan missiles, though?
Yeah.
Which that probably doesn't even make sense for most people.
Yeah,
there's 230
yeah.
missiles in the game. There you go. I can just imagine
that's
someone not
probably
knowing
the
that
case
and
in
having
a
no
lot of
idea what we're talking
cases.
about.
But yeah, there's 230 total missiles in the game, so that's the last one we pick up, so that's the 230 missile. Nice infinite ceiling bomb jump, Zenny. Zenny showing us all the tech. So that infinite ceiling bomb jump that you just saw, where he hugs the ceiling, you can actually get across the moat on the way to Fantoon without picking up the missile. Sometimes that's useful in some strange categories. Oh, yeah. I never thought of that. That's cool. So, yeah, so one of the hardest parts about this is that you can't just cycle through the items. First of all, you got a bunch of things to cycle through, but if you cycle through to X-ray and you're holding dash, it will use X-ray and stop you in your tracks. So you have to use the item cancel when you're switching off of supers back to your beam shot. So you're constantly, I mean, you're obviously running and jumping very quickly and doing all these angles to shoot the Metroids, and then on top of that, you gotta, you know, switch between your normal beam shot and press item select twice to get to your supers and item cancel after every, so you're doing that basically after every Metroid. You're having to item select to supers and then item deselect off supers. Now we're going to go for the baby skip here. Zenny's going for the very difficult spring ball skip, and he makes it look easy, although that's very not easy.
All is forgiven.
Yeah, that's a very precise skip there. Like, the baby skip is already very technical and precise, but that one is very unforgiving as far as the way you move through the room. But it saves like 4.5 seconds over the standard fast skip. You can't do that in any percent or most categories because you don't have spring ball or space jump. But yeah, that's the optimal way to do the skip in this category, even though it's very scary.
Zenny knew that was so swag that he just told everybody watching that you have to forgive him for all the previous mistakes. I like that, Zenny. Well done.
I'm forgiving myself, to be quite honest.
I already forgave you at the gauntlet for anything that ever could have gone wrong with those 2 sparks.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the funny part, is that was probably the craziest part of the whole run. But yeah, Zenny has demonstrated a lot of really crazy tech here. We're kind of closing in on, I would assume, to be kind of the last of the super technical parts, which is a stand-up glitch. Zoast, give us a little bit of info about what we're about to see here.
So normally you're supposed to be forcing this crouch animation and stay there, and Mother Brain's supposed to damage you down. Zenny has taken off his Varia suit, so he will take twice as much damage from this beam. You can still do it with gravity with Varia on, but it's a little bit more technical. But yeah, so we stand up. I don't know why it works, to be honest, but you have to be about 700 energy, 700 to 800 ideally, and then after the first rainbow beam, you stand up, which the game sort of allows you to do, I think, normally, but you damage yourself down really quickly, immediately down to a low range, and then you're allowed to sort of stay stood up, and therefore you can do these beam shots on Mother Brain. Now, you have to have 7 E-tanks to be able to do this, so you can't do it in any percent, for instance, without some other craziness that's not really worth doing. But you also benefit a lot from having plasma here, so in any percent it would not be nearly as beneficial because Mother Brain 3 has a lot of health. So we're basically doing damage to Mother Brain before you're supposed to be able to be starting our 3rd phase. It gives you the Hyper Beam, the last beam in the game, right before the 3rd phase is supposed to begin, which does a ton of damage. So without plasma and all the other beams, you wouldn't be doing that much to her here. But you do have a lot of time to do damage, so he's going to decrease most of her health before it even supposed to begin the fight. So 2 shots and she's dead. It's where normally it would
Are
be.
we saving or killing?
Tonight, we're killing the frame. Save those animals, Zenny. It wasn't even close.
All right.
Yeah, I gotta apologize real quick too. I took some grief in the Discord for not singing earlier, so I just wanted to give you guys a little taste there. Sorry about that.
We can just do an acapella ending credits together to Kipp.
Yeah, let's do it, man. What do you want to sing?
I was just kidding. I don't actually have game audio, so that might go wrong. It might be competing with the actual song.
I'll need to apologize too. I have a brand new puppy. She's about 11 weeks old, and her name is Samus. And she's just finished her dentist stick and is not very happy with me right now, so I apologize for the puppy sounds. But we are saving the animals. Yes, she is very upset that we're saving the animals. Thanks a lot, GDQ. But yes, we're going to save the animals here, something we normally wouldn't do in a run, but we appreciate raising the money for charity. And this is going to be an excellent display of all kinds of awesome tech. So thank you, Zenny, for a fantastic run, man.
iggyzig.
Coming up on time. Time.
Yeah, that was an excellent.
Mid 118.
Well, Zenny,
It's not bad considering the crumble blocks.
yeah, great job overall, man. Thank you for having us on commentary. I will give a quick shout out to the Super Metroid community real quick. We got a fantastic community filled with a lot of great people, a lot of great runners. If you want to see more action from Zenny or Zoast or even myself, we got a multi-category tournament going right now, so feel free to check those matches out. And Zoast, it was a pleasure getting to chat with you during this. Hope you have a great rest of your 80% world record attempts, man.
Thanks. Same to you, man. It's always good to talk with you and to commentate with you. And yeah, good game, Zenny. That was it's a shame about the crumble blocks, but I feel like that was a really impressive and good demonstration of what makes 100% impressive and like a lot of the amazing tech in the game. So I might have to say that was a really well done run.
I mean, you can always find something to complain about, right? But honestly, like, if there were big mistakes that were going to be made, those were the preferred ones for sure. Because all it does is add time. You know, there are a few spots in the run where you can like soft lock, for example. So even though it's 100%, there isn't a whole lot of like danger of dying. I still had some backup saves just in case, and I'm just glad we didn't have to use any of those. You know, so. So with 100% runs, generally we wait until the end of the credits to verify that 100% counter there at the end. If there are any donations that we want to read off in the meantime, that's fine.
Yeah, phenomenal. Got a couple quick ones. Got $50 from Jay Gillian. They say I got introduced to GDQ recently when YouTube suggested I run Oats and Goats. Watched Super Impossible. And after that, I had to watch. Been waiting to donate for this SM run. Can you call it 100% if you don't save the animals? I guess not. Thank you, G. Gillian. We also have an anonymous donation of $100 with a comment saying, "This is a comment." Indeed it is. Thank you. We've also got...
I'd like to give a quick shout out, if you don't mind, to the production team and everybody running this. Everybody who put this together made it very easy for us to get everything set up, and were very kind in helping us. So thank you so much to everybody who helped us set all this stuff up.
Yeah, I can definitely echo that. Thank you to the tech crew. You guys were super easy to work with and very accommodating with schedules and getting us all set up. So. All right, we got Deer Force coming up. You guys ready?
I'm ready.
Deer Force.
Deer Force.
Stream delay, dear Force.
Yeah, my stream's a little off too.
Very nice. All right, we didn't miss any items. Run is verified. Thank you again so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate the invite to run 100% for Corona Relief Done Quick. And I guess we will pass it back over for the final run of the event.
Thank you so much, ShinyZeni, for that incredibly clean and precise Super Metroid run. And thanks to Kipp and zoasty for that incredible commentary. Good stuff, guys. And thanks to all of you who participated in that bid war, raising $11,497 for direct relief. Oh, and 75 cents. Got a few more donations here for you guys. Got $150 from The Tuberman. He says, for those medical workers on the front lines, doing their jobs without PPE is like going to lower Norfair without Varya suit. So I have a challenge for all of you, chat. Let's get our doctors and nurses as many PPEs as we can get and get that total to 1 million. Whew. So come on, everyone, let's do it. Also, save the animals. Dream big, I agree. Thank you so much. Harrison Chan sends us $50, says, great run, Zeni. Always a pleasure to watch your runs. Ephemeral Dream sends us $30, says, we're all tired of hearing One-Winged Angel. Please kill Sephiroth. And thank you all for a great weekend, GDQ runners and staff. Hey, thank you. During that run, we also have an anonymous $500 donation. No comment, but I just wanted to recognize your generosity. Thank you so much. And now, for a quick word from one of our sponsors. NIS America, Premier 1 and 2, Reloaded and Exploded. Coming fall 2020 to Nintendo Switch. 2 action-packed chapters of Prinny's rise to becoming a hero, now with newly remastered graphics. The limited edition, which is the only physical version of the game, is available on the NASE online store, as well as major retailers like Amazon, Best Buy, and GameStop. The limited edition includes 1 art book, 1 disc official soundtrack, a building block set, a poster, all in 1 cool collector's box. It'll also be available separately on Nintendo eShop for digital download. Check them on out at prinnies.com.
How many years have I waited for the one they called the Warrior of Light? If history must be unwritten, let it be unwritten. Become what you must. Become the Warrior of Darkness.
Welcome back, everybody, to Corona Relief Done Quick. We're setting up Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix for you right now. Got a couple more donations I want to get through. Marty McPrime with $50 says, thank you so much for putting on this awesome event. I'm so proud to be part of this community. I try to donate whenever I can, whenever events are held. Thank you, everyone, for helping out our first responders. Hey, thank you, Marty. We have a $50 donation from Thardis. They say, thank you to all who put this on and all the runners. This was a much-needed event for our family. My son and I are at home social distancing. Meanwhile, my better half and most amazing mother a boy can have is a first responder who's on the front lines of the COVID-19 pandemic. She's isolating herself from her family in an Airbnb to protect us, for she is exposed to the virus daily. Though we are apart and times are difficult, this event is something we have enjoyed together while separated. We want everyone to stay inside, practice good hygiene, and keep on smiling. Don't forget, this too shall pass. Awesome words. Thank you, Thardis. We really appreciate it. $500 comes from Sean, Libby, and Allie Cook. They say simply, thank you. Hey, you're welcome. Thank you. Terry and Amanda sent us a generous $50. They say the Kingdom Hearts franchise is one of my favorites, so I just have to donate to see the level 1 Sephiroth fight. Stay safe, everybody, and wash your hands. I agree. With everything in that, washing your hands, seeing Sephiroth, we're at currently $12,210. We are killing it, people. Let's keep it going. We got plenty of marathon to make this happen. And you know what? If we get to 75,000, that'll get us near 400,000. So let's make it happen, people. All right, everybody, that's it for me this evening. I want to thank you guys for being so incredible. This event has gotten pretty incredible, and what's happening right now in the world has gotten really scary really quick for me. So I just want to say that everybody together is great to happen, even though everybody's apart. We're going to throw it over to a quick Twitch ad, and you're going to be hearing the beautiful voice of Sakura Tsubasa as she takes you through the last round of the night. So do not touch that tab. We will be right back.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Corona Relief Done Quick. Next up, we have Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix Critical Mode Any Percent run by Ninten866. My name is Sakura Subasa, and I'll be your host for this last run of the evening. I hope you guys are as excited about it as I am. But before then, let's take a quick talk about the charity. Direct Relief's COVID-19 coronavirus efforts are focused on the personal protective equipment, masks, gowns, gloves, etc. that are most needed across the world. In addition to providing PPE, Direct Relief is supporting U.S. community clinics and health centers with chronic disease medications to make sure that people living with these conditions do not go into acute crisis as a result of the surge of people needing medical care due to COVID-19. Direct Relief is ramping up efforts to provide the prescription medications and medical resources needed for the most severe cases that require hospitalization and ICU care. You can learn more about Direct Relief's ongoing efforts related to COVID-19 at www.directrelief.org/emergency/coronavirus-outbreak. We have a Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix Level 1 Critical Sephiroth incentive that needs to be met before the end of the run if you want to see this. Now, this is going to be a super cool showcase of some amazing skill from the runner. We have about 63, actually less than that. We have about just over 60,000 to go in order to see it. Also, if we meet this incentive, we will be so close to 400,000. And I believe in us. I believe in chat. Speaking of donations, we have a $50 donation from Dig850, which reads, "We need to hit at least 375,000 people. Let's kick this off with a $5 donation train. I'll get us started with 10 $5 donations. Thank you, GDQ, and thank you, Direct Relief." We have a $100 donation from Butter Mochi that reads, "I'm so excited GDQ is closing with my favorite series, Kingdom Hearts. So thankful we don't have to find any ingredients this time. Let's kill Sephiroth." And looks like we are ready for our final run of the evening. Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix Critical Mode Any Percent. Here is Ninten86, or 866, sorry. Looks like we are having some minor technical difficulties, so I will continue reading you some donations. We have a $5 donation from Lemelk KH2. Hopefully I said that correctly. Hey Nintendo, as your best channel mod, I wish you all the best luck. Thanks again for representing our community so well, and thanks again GDQ for doing so good in our community as well. Stay safe, everyone. We have a $25 donation from Ghost Princess, which reads, I could really go for some sea salt ice cream right now, but I'll stay inside instead. Stay kind, stay safe, everyone. We also have a $25 donation from Pistol Pete, which reads, Hey Nintendo, Pistol Pete here. Congrats on being the finale for CRDQ. Good luck